Naomi stood in the doorway of the conference room, one hand still on the handle, the other clutching a folder so tight the edges had gone soft. She watched the glass roll toward the wall. I watched it stop. I watched the water spread across the marble in a shape that looked like wings. No one was looking at the glass. They were all looking at her. 12 men in suits, expensive ones, the kind that didn't wrinkle even when you sat for hours. They were staring at her like she'd walked in naked, like she'd done something obscene, just by existing. She hadn't knocked. That was the problem. Before we continue, kindly support us by hitting the subscription button so we can keep bringing you more love stories. Mr. Kang sat at the head of the table. He didn't look at her, not directly, but his jaw was tight. His hand had frozen halfway to his mouth, holding a pen like a cigarette. He was the only one not staring, which somehow made it worse. "I'm sorry," Naomi said. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. "I didn't know you were out." One word, quiet, deadly. She backed out, closed the door, stood in the hallway with her heart trying to break through her ribs. The folder slipped from her hand, papers scattered across the floor. She knelt to pick them up, her fingers shaking so bad she had to stop and breathe. She'd worked for Kang Min-jae for 2 years, 2 years of arriving before him, leaving after him, learning his coffee order, his schedule, his moods, learning which silence meant he was thinking and which silence meant someone was about to get fired. She knew him, or she thought she did, but she'd never seen him look at her like that, like she was a problem, like she was nothing. Naomi gathered the papers and stood. Her knees hurt. She was 28, but her body felt 40. That's what happened when you worked 14-hour days in heels you couldn't afford to replace. She walked back to her desk, the small one outside his office, the one with no nameplate, just a chair and a computer and a phone that never stopped ringing. She sat. She answered emails. She smiled at people who didn't smile back, and she tried not to think about the way he'd said it, like she was a dog. Naomi had been in Seoul for 3 years. She'd come on a work visa, a referral from a friend of a friend who said there were opportunities here. Good money, better than what she'd make back home in Accra, better than what her mother made cleaning houses, better than what her younger brother could scrape together selling phone credit on the street. She'd believed it. For a while, it was true. She got the job at Kang Enterprises through an agency. They didn't ask many questions. They liked that she spoke English fluently. I liked that she was polite, liked that she didn't complain. The first year she worked in the mailroom, sorting packages, delivering files, avoiding eye contact with executives who walked past her like she was furniture. The second year, she got moved to reception. That's when she started learning Korean, real Korean. Not the textbook kind, the kind people actually spoke. She listened, she practiced. She stayed late, whispering phrases to herself until her tongue stopped tripping over the sounds. Mr. Kang noticed. He didn't say much, just started asking her to handle things, small things at first, booking meetings, ordering lunch, translating emails from English-speaking clients, then bigger things, preparing reports, sitting in on calls, taking notes during negotiations. She became his shadow. People started calling her Kang's secretary, even though her title was still administrative assistant, even though she made half what the other assistants made, even though she worked twice as hard. She told herself it didn't matter. She told herself it was temporary. She told herself she was building something. But late at night, alone in her tiny apartment in Itaewon, she'd lie awake and wonder what exactly she was building, and for who. Before we continue, tell us in the comments section, where are you watching this video from? Hit the subscription button now. Min-jae didn't apologize. He never did. But the next morning there was an envelope on her desk. Inside, a handwritten note on expensive stationery. Attend the client's dinner tonight. 7 p.m. Wear something formal. No signature. No explanation. Just an order. Naomi stared at the note for a long time. Client dinners were for senior staff, executives, people with actual titles. She'd never been invited to one, never even been mentioned as an option. This was either a promotion or a test. She wasn't sure which scared her more. She wore a black dress, the one she'd bought 2 years ago for a wedding she never attended. It was simple, elegant, the kind of dress that didn't try too hard but still made you look like you belonged somewhere expensive. She did her makeup carefully, not too much, just enough to look polished, professional. She braided her hair into a low bun. She checked herself in the mirror 3 times before leaving. She looked good. She hated that it mattered. The restaurant was the kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu. Naomi arrived 10 minutes early. A server in a crisp white shirt led her to a private room at the back. The walls were dark wood. The lights were low. A long table sat in the center, already set with wine glasses and folded napkins. Min-jae was already there. He stood by the window, looking out at the city. His suit was charcoal gray, perfectly tailored. His hair was pushed back, still damp from a shower. He didn't turn around when she entered. "You're early," he said. "You told me 7. I told you to be here at 7. I didn't say when I'd arrive." Naomi didn't respond. She sat in the chair closest to the door, folded her hands in her lap, waited. Min-jae finally turned. His eyes swept over her once, quick, clinical. "You look presentable," he said. She bit the inside of her cheek. "Thank you." Before we continue, tell us in the comments section, where are you watching this video from? Hit the subscription button now. He sat at the head of the table, poured himself a glass of water, didn't offer her any. "The clients are Korean American, Wigao-san," he said. "Husband and wife. They're considering a contract with us, but they're nervous about working with a company that doesn't have international appeal. I need you to make them comfortable." "Make them comfortable," she repeated. "Yes. How? Talk to them. Smile. Be charming. That's what you're good at, isn't it?" Something in his tone made her stomach twist. "Is that all you think I'm good at?" Min-jae looked at her, really looked, for the first time since she'd walked in. "Does it matter what I think?" She wanted to say yes. She wanted to say, "Yes, it matters. It's always mattered. Every time you ignore me, every time you give credit for my work to someone else, every time you look through me like I'm glass." Instead, she said, "No." He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Good. Then we understand each other." The clients arrived 20 minutes later. David and Grace Park, both in their 50s, polished, wealthy. The kind of people who'd built something from nothing and wanted everyone to know it. Grace was warm. She shook Naomi's hand with both of hers, her smile genuine. "So nice to meet you," she said in English. "Min-jae's told us a lot about you." Naomi glanced at Min-jae. He didn't react. "All good things, I hope," Naomi said. "Of course," Grace said. "He says you're indispensable." David was quieter. He nodded at Naomi but didn't shake her hand. He sat across from her, folding his arms on the table. The dinner started. Naomi played her part. She laughed at David's jokes. She asked Grace about her kids. She translated when the conversation drifted into Korean phrases the Parks didn't quite catch. She was good at it. She hated that too. Min-jae barely spoke. He let Naomi carry the conversation, let her do the work. At one point, Grace leaned toward her. "You must enjoy working with Min-jae," she said. "He's very intense." Naomi smiled. He's very dedicated." "That's a polite way to put it," Grace laughed. David almost didn't want to work with him. He said Min-jae reminded him too much of himself 20 years ago, too serious, too focused. "Focusing isn't a bad thing," Naomi said. "No. But sometimes focus becomes obsession, and obsession makes you blind." Naomi's smile faltered. Grace didn't seem to notice, but Min-jae did. The dinner ended well. David and Grace left happy. They shook Min-jae's hand. They hugged Naomi. "We'll finalize the contract next week," David said. Min-jae nodded. "I look forward to it." When they were gone, the room felt colder. Naomi started gathering her things, her purse, her phone. "Stay." She froze. Min-jae was still sitting, still holding his wine glass. He hadn't drunk from it all night. "I should go," Naomi said. "It's late." "I said stay." Wasn't a request. She sat. He didn't look at her, just stared at the wine in his glass like it held answers. "You did well tonight," he said. "Thank you. They liked you. I'm glad. They liked you more than they liked me." Naomi didn't know what to say to that. "That's the point, isn't it?" Min-jae continued. "That's why I brought you, because I knew they'd respond to you, because I knew you'd make them feel comfortable in a way I can't. I don't understand what you're—" "Do you know what it's like," he interrupted, "to build something from nothing? To fight for every inch of respect? To know that no matter how good you are, people will always find a reason to doubt you?" His voice was quiet, too quiet. "Yes," Naomi said. "I do." He finally looked at her. For a moment, something passed between them. Something raw, something neither of them wanted to name. Then he looked away. "Go home," he said. She stood. She walked to the door. She stopped. "Mr. Kang?" "What?" "Why did you really bring me tonight?" He didn't answer. She left. "Before we continue, tell us in the comment section, where are you watching this video from? Hit the subscription button now." The next 3 weeks were normal, or as normal as things ever were. Min-jae was distant, professional. He gave her assignments. She completed them. They barely spoke unless it was about work. Naomi told herself it was fine. She told herself she didn't care. She told herself a lot of things, and then she met Joshua. It was a Saturday. Naomi had the day off, a real day off. No calls, no emails, no emergencies that required her to drop everything and fix someone else's problem. She went to a cafe in Hongdae, the kind with mismatched furniture and art on the walls, the kind where you could sit for hours without anyone bothering you. She ordered an iced coffee, opened her laptop, pretended to work on the novel she'd been writing for 2 years and would probably never finish. "Is this seat taken?" She looked up. The man was tall, black, American judging by his accent. He had kind eyes, the kind that crinkled when he smiled. "No," she said. "Go ahead." He sat, pulled out his own laptop, ordered a latte. They worked in silence for a while. Then he spoke again. "You're a writer?" She glanced at him. "How do you know?" "You keep deleting the same sentence over and over. That's the writer's behavior." She laughed. Actually, I laughed. It felt strange. "Guilty," she said. "What are you working on?" "A story. About a woman who moves to a foreign country and slowly disappears." He raised an eyebrow. "Dark, realistic, fair." He held out his hand. "Joshua." She shook it. "Naomi." They met again the next Saturday, and the Saturday after that. It became a routine. Cafe, coffee, conversation. Joshua was easy to talk to. He didn't ask too many questions, didn't push. I didn't expect anything. He was a teacher, English. He'd been in Seoul for 5 years. He liked it. Mostly. "Mostly?" Naomi asked. "It's lonely sometimes," he admitted. "People are polite, but distant. Like there's a wall you can't quite get through. I know what you mean. You work in a corporation, right? Yeah. You like it? She hesitated. It pays the bills. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. He didn't push further. That's what she liked about him. He didn't need her to be anything other than herself. The third time they met, he asked her to dinner. Not at the cafe, a real dinner. She said yes before she could think too hard about it. They went to a small Italian place in Itaewon, the kind with candles on the tables and wine that didn't cost a fortune. Joshua told her about his students, about the kid who wrote an entire essay about why pizza was better than homework, about the girl who cried when she finally understood the past tense. Naomi told him about her family, about her mother, about the guilt she carried for being here while they were there. You send money home? Joshua asked. Every month. Then you're doing what you can. That's not something to feel guilty about. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does. But that doesn't mean it's not enough. She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in years she felt seen. They started seeing each other regularly after that. Coffee, dinners, long walks through neighborhoods she'd never explored. He made her laugh, made her forget, made her feel like maybe she wasn't disappearing after all. She didn't tell anyone at work, especially not Minjai. But somehow, he found out. It was a Thursday. Naomi was at her desk typing an email when Minji's door opened. Come in, he said. She saved her work, grabbed her notepad. I walked in. He was standing by the window, his back to her. Close the door. She did. Sit. She sat. He didn't turn around. I have a question, he said. Okay. Are you seeing someone? Her heart stopped. I'm sorry? Are you seeing someone? He turned. His face was unreadable. That's personal, Naomi said carefully. So that's a yes. She didn't respond. Who is he? Mr. Kang? Who is he? His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like glass. Naomi stood. With all due respect, that's none of your business. Everything you do is my business. No. Everything I do at work is your business. What I do outside of work is mine. Minjae took a step toward her. You think I don't notice? You think I don't see when you check your phone during meetings? When you smile at messages, you think no one's watching you read? I do my job, Naomi said. Her voice was shaking now. I do it well. What I do outside of that is distracting. She stared at him. Distracting, she repeated. Yes. I'm distracted? Me? You're not focused. I've been focused for 2 years. 2 years of doing your work, covering for you, making you look good. And now I'm distracted because I have a life outside of this office. Min Jae's jaw tightened. This isn't about... Then what is it about? She stepped closer. Tell me, what is this really about? He didn't answer. She laughed, bitter, angry. You don't even know, do you? She turned to leave. I saw you. She stopped. Last Saturday, at a restaurant in Itaewon, with him. Her blood turned cold. You followed me? I was there for a meeting. I saw you through the window. I saw you laughing. Saw the way you looked at him. He paused. You never look at me like that. Naomi turned slowly. Minjai was standing in the middle of his office, his hands in his pockets. His face was blank, but his eyes weren't blank. They were raw. Why would I? She said quietly. What? Why would I look at you like that? You don't see me. You never have. I'm just useful, convenient. That's not true. Isn't it? Silence. You don't know what you're talking about, Minjai said finally. Then tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I matter to you as more than just someone who makes your life easier. He opened his mouth. I closed it. Naomi felt something inside her crack. "That's what I thought," she said. She walked out. This time he didn't stop her. She didn't go back to her desk. She went to the bathroom, locked herself in a stall, pressed her palms against her eyes until the burning stopped. She wasn't crying. She refused to cry. Not here, not for him. When she came out, her phone was buzzing. Joshua. "Still on for tonight?" She stared at the message. She'd forgotten. They had plans, dinner. He wanted to try a new Korean BBQ place in Gangnam. She typed back, "Yes, see you at 7. She needed to be normal. She needed someone who didn't make her feel small. Naomi left work early. She didn't ask permission, just packed her things and walked out. No one stopped her. She went home, changed into jeans and a sweater, something comfortable, something that didn't require her to be perfect. Joshua was waiting outside the restaurant when she arrived. He smiled when he saw her, that easy, uncomplicated smile. "Hey," he said. "Hey." He looked at her closer. "You okay?" "Yeah, just a long day." "Want to talk about it?" "Not really." "Fair enough." He held the door open. She walked in. "Before we continue, tell us in the comment section, where are you watching this video from? Hit the subscription button now." The restaurant was loud, crowded. Smoke from the grills hung in the air like fog. They sat at a small table near the back, ordered pork belly and soju. Joshua talked about his week, about the vice principal who kept scheduling meetings during lunch, about the stray cat that had started hanging around his apartment building. Naomi tried to listen. She tried to be present, but her mind kept drifting back to Min Jae's office, to the way he'd looked at her, to the question he'd asked but couldn't answer. "Tell me I matter to you." She shouldn't have said it. She shouldn't have expected anything. "Naomi?" She blinked. Joshua was looking at her with concern. "Sorry, what?" "I asked if you wanted more soju." "Oh yeah, sure." He poured, slid the glass toward her. "You're somewhere else tonight," he said gently. "I know. I'm sorry." "It's okay. Is everything all right?" She looked at him. This kind man, this good man, this man who didn't make her heart hurt. "It's fine," she said. "Work stuff." "Your boss?" She hesitated. Joshua had heard about Min Jae. Not much, just that he was demanding, difficult. "Yeah," she said. "He's complicated." "Complicated how?" "I don't know. She stopped, shook her head. "It doesn't matter. If it's bothering you, it matters." Naomi picked up her glass, drank. The soju burned down. "He asked me about you today," she said quietly. Joshua's eyebrows rose. "About me?" "About us. If I was seeing someone. What did you say?" "I told him it was none of his business." "Good." "He followed me. Last week. Saw us at the restaurant." Joshua set down his chopsticks. "He followed you?" "He said he was there for a meeting, but you don't believe him." She didn't answer. Joshua leaned back, exhaled slowly. "Naomi, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." Her stomach tightened. "Okay. Is there something between you and him?" "What?" "No, God, no." "Are you sure?" "Yes, he's my boss. That's it." "Then why does it sound like he's jealous?" The word hung in the air. Jealous. "He's not," Naomi said. But even as she said it, she wasn't sure. Joshua watched her. "Naomi, I like you. A lot. But I'm not going to compete with someone who can't figure out what he wants. If there's something unresolved between you two, there's not. Then you need to figure that out, for your sake, not mine." He wasn't angry, just honest. That made it worse. "I'm sorry," Naomi said. "Don't be sorry, just be sure." She wasn't sure. That was the problem. When she got home that night, there was an email waiting from Min Jae. Subject line: Tomorrow. She opened it. I need you to accompany me to a meeting in Busan. We leave at 6 a.m., pack for 2 days. No explanation. No apology for what happened earlier. Just orders. Naomi closed her laptop. She didn't sleep that night. The car picked her up at 5:45 a.m. Min Jae was already inside. He didn't look at her when she got in, just stared out the window as the driver pulled away from her building. They drove in silence for an hour, then another. Naomi kept her eyes on her phone, answered emails, reviewed documents, anything to avoid looking at him. It was Min Jae who finally spoke. I overstepped yesterday. She didn't respond. I shouldn't have asked about your personal life. It was inappropriate. Still nothing. Naomi. She looked at him. His face was tired, like he hadn't slept either. I'm apologizing, he said. I heard you. Then say something. What do you want me to say? That it's fine, that I understand? I want you to tell me what you're thinking. She laughed, sharp, bitter. You want to know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that you don't get to do this. You don't get to ignore me for weeks and then suddenly care when you see me with someone else. You don't get to make me feel like I'm nothing and then act hurt when I find someone who makes me feel like I'm something. Min Jae's jaw clenched. I never said you were nothing. You didn't have to say it. Silence. I don't know how to do this, he said finally. Do what? This. Whatever this is. I don't know how to be. He trailed off. Human? Naomi supplied. He flinched. I was going to say vulnerable. She looked away. Maybe you should learn. The meeting in Busan was with a Japanese investor. Old money, old values. Naomi sat in the corner, taking notes, translating when necessary. Min Jae was smooth, professional. He answered every question with precision. Never hesitated, never faltered. But Naomi could see the tension in his shoulders, the way he gripped his pen too tight, the way he glanced at her when he thought she wasn't looking. After the meeting, they had dinner with the investor. Private room, expensive sushi, sake that cost more than Naomi's rent. The investor was polite to Naomi, but distant. She knew why. She'd dealt with it before. The looks, the assumptions, the invisible wall that came up when people realized she wasn't just there to serve tea. Min Jae noticed when the investor made a comment in Japanese, something about how modern Korean companies were becoming. Min Jae responded in Japanese, sharp, cold. The investor's smile faltered. He didn't make another comment. That night, they stayed in separate rooms at a hotel overlooking the ocean. Naomi stood on her balcony listening to the waves. Her phone buzzed. Joshua. Miss you. How's Busan? She typed back. Busy. Miss you too. She meant it. She did. But something felt off, like she was saying the right words in the wrong language. There was a knock on her door. She already knew who it was. Min Jae stood in the hallway. He'd changed out of his suit, wore jeans and a t-shirt. She'd never seen him in jeans before. He looked younger, less untouchable. Can I come in? He asked. She should have said no. She stepped aside. He walked in slowly, looked around the room like he'd never seen a hotel before. I can't sleep, he said. So you came here? I wanted to talk. We've been talking all day. No, we've been working. That's different. Naomi crossed her arms. What do you want to talk about, Mr. Kang? Don't call me that. That's your name. You know what I mean. She did, but she wasn't going to make this easy for him. He walked to the window, stood with his back to her. When I was young, he said, my father told me that emotion was weakness, that if I wanted to survive in this world, I had to be harder than everyone else. Colder, smarter. Naomi didn't respond. I believed him, Minjae continued. I built my life around that belief. I became exactly what he wanted me to be. He turned. And then you walked into my office 2 years ago and everything I thought I knew stopped making sense. Her heart was beating too fast. Minjae? You asked me yesterday if you mattered to me. The answer is yes. You do. More than you should. More than I know how to handle. Then why? Because I'm terrified. The word hung between them. Of what? Naomi asked quietly. Of this. Of you. By the way, you make me feel like everything I've built doesn't mean anything if you're not there to see it. He took a step closer. I saw you with him, laughing, happy, and I wanted to burn the entire restaurant down, not because I hate him, but because I hate that he can give you something I can't. What can't you give me? Before we continue, tell us in the comments section, where are you watching this video from? Hit the subscription button now. Normalcy, simplicity, a life that doesn't come with bodyguards and enemies and people who'd hurt you just to hurt me. Naomi's breath caught. You think I care about that? You should, but I don't. Naomi, I spent 2 years waiting for you to see me, 2 years hoping, and when you finally do, you tell me I should want someone else? Someone safer? Yes, that's not your choice to make. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need honesty. Minjae closed the distance between them. They were inches apart now. She could feel the heat coming off him. You want honesty, he said. His voice was low, rough. I think about you constantly. I think about the way you take your coffee, the way you bite your lip when you're concentrating, the way you laugh when you think no one's listening. I think about what it would feel like to touch you, to kiss you, to hear you say my name like it means something. Naomi couldn't breathe. But more than that, he continued, I think about what happens after, when reality comes back, when you realize what being with me actually means, the danger, the scrutiny, the people who look at you like you're something I bought, something that doesn't belong. Stop, Naomi whispered. I can't give you easy, Naomi. I can't give you a simple answer. All I can give you is complicated and messy and probably painful. Then give me that. He stared at her. What? If that's all you have, then give me that. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for real. You don't know what you're asking for? Yes, I do. She reached up, touched his face. He closed his eyes. Like her touch hurt. I'm going to ruin you, he said. Maybe I'll ruin you first. He opened his eyes, and then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, hungry, like he'd been holding back for years and couldn't anymore. Naomi kissed him back just as hard. They stumbled toward the bed, his hands in her hair. Her hands pulled at his shirt. Everything she'd been holding inside came rushing out. The anger, the frustration, the want. They fell onto the bed in a tangle of limbs and breath and heat, and for the first time in 2 years, Naomi felt like she existed, not as a secretary, not as a convenience, but as a person, as herself. Afterward, they lay in the dark. Minjae's arm was around her, her head on his chest. His heartbeat was still fast. This changes everything, he said quietly. I know. People will talk. Let them. They'll try to hurt you. I can handle it. Naomi, she lifted her head. I looked at him in the dim light from the window. I've been fighting my whole life, she said, for respect, for space, for the right to exist without apologizing. I'm not afraid of a fight. He touched her face. You should be. Maybe, but I'm not. He pulled her closer. God help us both, he whispered. Before we continue, tell us in the comment section, where are you watching this video from? Hit the subscription button now. They didn't sleep much that night. They talked, touched, existed in a space that felt separate from the rest of the world. But morning came anyway. It always does. When Naomi woke, Minjai was already dressed. He stood by the window looking out at the ocean. His phone was pressed to his ear. He was speaking in Korean, fast, clipped. Something was wrong. She sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. He ended the call, turned. His face was blank again. The mask was back. "Get dressed," he said. "We need to leave in 20 minutes. "What happened?" "Something came up. We're going back to Seoul." "Minjae?" 20 minutes, Naomi." He walked out. The drive back was worse than the drive there. Minjae didn't speak, didn't look at her, just stared out the window with his jaw tight and his hands curled into fists. Naomi tried twice to ask what was wrong. He ignored her both times. By the time they reached Seoul, she was furious. The car dropped her at her apartment first. She grabbed her bag. I turned to him. "Are we going to talk about last night, or are you just going to pretend it didn't happen?" "Not now." "Then when?" I said, "Not now." She got out, slammed the door, watched the car drive away. She didn't hear from him for 3 days. No calls, no emails, nothing. Naomi went to work, sat at her desk, did her job. But Minjae's office stayed empty. His assistant, a sharp woman named Ms. Choi, who'd always looked at Naomi like she was a problem, told her he was working from home. "Personal matters," she said with a tight smile. Naomi didn't believe her. On the 4th day, Joshua called. "Hey, you okay? You've been quiet." Naomi was sitting in her apartment, staring at her laptop screen without seeing it. "I'm fine," she lied. "You don't sound fine. Just work stress." "Naomi." She closed her eyes. "Can I see you?" he asked. "I feel like we need to talk." Her stomach dropped. "About what?" "About us. About where this is going." She didn't want to have this conversation, but she owed him honesty. "Okay," she said. "When?" "Tonight?" "Okay." They met at the cafe, the place where they'd first talked. It felt like a lifetime ago. Joshua looked tired, like he hadn't been sleeping well either. "I'm going to be direct," he said once they sat down, "because I think we both know something's changed." Naomi's hands tightened around her coffee cup. "Joshua, did you sleep with him?" The question hit her like cold water. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Joshua nodded slowly, looked away. "I thought so." "I'm sorry," Naomi said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are you in love with him?" "I don't know." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Joshua was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I'm not going to fight for you, Naomi. Not because I don't care, but because I've been where you are, caught between what makes sense and what you can't let go of. And I know that when you're in that place, no one can tell you what to choose." Tears burned in her eyes. "You deserve better than this," she said. "Yeah, I do." He smiled sadly. "But you deserve to figure out what you want, even if it hurts." He stood, leaned down and kissed her forehead. "Take care of yourself," he said. Then he left. Naomi sat alone in the cafe and finally let herself cry. Minjai called that night. "We need to talk." "Now you want to talk?" "I'm outside your building." She looked out the window. His car was parked on the street. She hung up, grabbed her jacket, went down. He was leaning against the car, hands in his pockets. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Get in," he said. "No. Whatever you have to say, you can say it here." "Naomi, you disappeared for 4 days. 4 days, Minjai, after everything. And now you show up and expect me to just... I was dealing with something." "What?" He looked away. "My father found out." Her blood went cold. "Found out what?" About us. About Busan. How? He has eyes everywhere. He always has. Naomi's mind raced. What did he say? Min-jae's jaw tightened. He said I was being reckless, that I was jeopardizing everything he'd built, that a relationship with you would make me look weak. Weak. His word, not mine. And what did you say? Silence. Min-jae, what did you say? I told him he was right. Something inside Naomi shattered. You what? I told him. I heard you. She stepped back. So that's it? 4 days ago you told me you thought about me constantly, that you wanted me. And now your father says jump and you ask how high. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. People on the street were starting to stare. Naomi didn't care. You said you were terrified, she continued. Her voice was shaking. You said you didn't know how to handle the way I made you feel, but the truth is you don't want to handle it. You want to be safe. You want it easy. You want to keep living in the box your father built for you. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I gave you honesty. I gave you vulnerability. I gave you everything I had, and you couldn't even defend me to your father. You don't understand the position I'm in. Then, explain it to me. I can't. His voice cracked. They stood there, breathing hard. Both of them were on the edge of something they couldn't come back from. My father controls everything, Min-jae said finally. His voice was low, raw. The company, the money, the power. If I go against him, I lose it all, and if I lose it all, I'm no one. I'm nothing. You're not nothing. In his world, I am. Then leave his world. It's not that simple. Why not? Because I've spent my entire life building this. Everything I am is tied to what he created. No. Naomi shook her head. Everything you are is tied to what you've let him make you believe you are. There's a difference. Min-jae looked at her like she'd struck him. You don't get it, he said. You're right. I don't. Because I've spent my entire life fighting to be seen, fighting to matter, and I would never let someone tell me I didn't. You're stronger than me. No, I'm just not afraid of losing things that were never really mine. She turned to walk away. Naomi, wait. I'm done waiting, Min-jae. I've been waiting for 2 years, waiting for you to see me, waiting for you to choose me. I'm tired of waiting. I do choose you. Then prove it. She walked back into her building. This time he didn't follow. The next morning she submitted her resignation, effective immediately. She didn't go to the office, just emailed HR, emailed Ms. Choi, and blocked Min-jae's number. For 2 weeks she heard nothing. She applied for jobs, went to interviews, tried to rebuild the life she'd let crumble around him. Joshua texted once. I heard you quit. You okay? She didn't respond. She wasn't okay, but she would be. She had to be. Then, on a Tuesday, there was a knock on her door. She opened it. It wasn't Min-jae. It was an older man, Korean, expensive suit, cold eyes. Behind him stood 2 men in black. Miss Johnson, the man said in English. I'm Park Tae-jin, Min-jae's father. We need to talk. Naomi's stomach dropped, but she didn't show it. I have nothing to say to you. Then listen. He walked past her into the apartment. The 2 men stayed outside. Naomi closed the door slowly. Park Tae-jin stood in her small living room like he owned it. He looked around, at her second-hand furniture, her peeling wallpaper, her life laid bare. This is where you live, he said, not a question, an observation. What do you want? Naomi asked. He turned to face her. I want you to understand something. My son is weak. He always has been. Too emotional, too soft. I've spent years trying to fix that, and I thought I'd succeeded. He paused. Then you came along. Naomi crossed her arms. I didn't ask to come along. I was just doing my job. Your job." He smiled. It was colder than Minjae's had ever been. "You were very good at your job, Miss Johnson. So good that my son forgot where he came from, forgot what he's supposed to be." "And what's that?" "Untouchable." The word hung in the air. "He's not untouchable," Naomi said. "He's human." "In my world, being human is a liability." "Then your world is broken." Park Tae-jin's smile disappeared. "You're bold. I'll give you that. But boldness won't protect you." "Is that a threat?" "It's a warning. Stay away from my son. Disappear. Go back to wherever you came from. Do that, and I'll make sure you're compensated. Generously." He pulled out an envelope, set it on her table. "There's enough in there to set you up for years. Anywhere in the world. All you have to do is leave. Tonight." Naomi looked at the envelope, then at him. "No." His eyes narrowed. "Excuse me." "I said no. I'm not disappearing because you're afraid your son might actually be happy." "You think this is about happiness?" "I think this is about control, and I think you're terrified of losing it." Park Tae-jin stepped closer. "Let me be very clear, Miss Johnson. If you don't take this money and leave, I will make your life very difficult. I will make sure you never work in this city again. I will make sure your family back home faces problems you can't fix from here. I will erase you." Naomi's heart was pounding, but she didn't back down. "Then erase me. But I'm not running because you told me to." He stared at her for a long moment. Then he picked up the envelope. "Stupid girl," he said. "You have no idea what you've just done." He walked to the door. Stopped. "Minjae will not choose you. He knows what's at stake. He knows where his loyalty lies." "Then let him tell me that himself." Park Tae-jin left. Naomi locked the door, slid down to the floor, and for the first time in weeks she let herself shake. The threats started the next day. Her visa was flagged for review. Her bank account was frozen. She received calls from HR departments at companies she'd interviewed with. All of them suddenly had concerns about her background check. Park Tae-jin was erasing her, just like he'd promised. Naomi sat in her apartment, watching her life disappear piece by piece. She thought about calling Minjae. She didn't. If he wanted to reach her, he'd find a way. He didn't. 3 days later, her door opened. She hadn't locked it. She'd stopped caring. Minjae walked in. He looked worse than she'd ever seen him, like he hadn't eaten. "I hadn't slept, hadn't breathed." "My father came to see you," he said. "I know. He told me what he said, what he offered you." "Good for him." "Naomi, go away, Minjae." "I can't." "Why not? You've done a pretty good job of it so far." He walked to her, knelt in front of where she sat on the couch. "I've been trying to fix this," he said. "I've been trying to find a way to protect you and still..." "Still what? Still keep your father happy? Still keep your perfect life intact?" "No, still keep you." She looked at him. Really looked. His eyes were red. His face was gaunt. "What are you saying?" she asked quietly. "I'm saying I'm done. I'm done letting him control me. I'm done pretending I can live without you. I'm done being afraid." "Minjae?" "I dissolved the company partnership this morning. I'm walking away. From him. From everything he built. I'm starting over." Naomi's breath caught. "You what?" "I have money of my own. Investments he doesn't control. It's not as much, but it's enough. Enough to build something new. Something of mine." "You gave up everything?" "No. I gave up his version of everything. There's a difference." He took her hands. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm just asking you to let me prove that I'm not the coward you think I am." Tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't think you're a coward. Yes, you do, and you're right to, but I want to be better. For you, for myself. Your father's going to destroy you. Let him try. I'd rather be destroyed and with you than whole and without you. She pulled her hands away, stood. I walked to the window. This isn't a fairy tale, Minjai. Your father is powerful. He's dangerous. Walking away doesn't change that. I know. He'll come after both of us. I know. We could lose everything. As long as I don't lose you, I don't care. She turned. He was still on his knees. Get up, she said. He stood. She walked to him, looked up into his face. If we do this, we do it together. No more secrets. No more protecting me from the truth. I need to know everything. You will. And if it gets bad, it will get bad. Then we face it together. Together, he repeated. She kissed him, soft, slow, like a promise. Park Tae-jin didn't take the news well. He cut Minjai off completely, publicly disowned him, told the media his son had been compromised by a foreign woman with no morals and less sense. The tabloids had a field day. Photos of Naomi appeared everywhere. Her face, her background, her questionable visa status. They called her a gold digger, a manipulator, a black woman who'd seduced a powerful Korean man for money. The comments were vicious. Naomi stopped reading them after the first week, but Minjai couldn't stop. She'd find him late at night, scrolling through articles with his jaw tight and his hand shaking. Stop, she'd say. It doesn't matter what they think. It matters when they threaten you. Words can't hurt me. They can hurt worse than anything. She knew he was right, but she also knew they didn't have a choice. They'd chosen each other. Now they had to live with the consequences. Minjai started a new company, smaller, leaner. He brought in people he trusted, people who'd been shut out by his father's empire. It was hard. There were days when money was tight, days when clients backed out because they were afraid of Park Tae-jin's reach, days when Minjai looked at Naomi with guilt written all over his face. I gave you a good life, he'd say. You gave me an honest one, she'd correct. Naomi found work eventually, consulting, freelance. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. She and Minjai lived in a smaller apartment. Nothing like the penthouse he'd had before, but it was theirs. They learned to cook together. I learned to fight and make up, learned what it meant to build something real. 6 months after Min-jae walked away from his father, Park Tae-jin had a stroke. Massive, debilitating. He survived, but he'd never be the same. Min-jae got the call from his mother, a woman Naomi had never met. She asked him to come to the hospital. He went alone. Naomi waited in the apartment, pacing. When he came back, his eyes were red. He's dying, Min-jae said. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but he's dying. I'm sorry. Don't be. He's not. He sat on the couch. Naomi sat beside him. He asked me to come back, Min-jae said. Said he'd forgive everything. Said I could have it all back. Her stomach twisted. What did you say? He looked at her. I said no. She exhaled. I told him I already have everything I need, and that the only thing I regret is not walking away sooner. Naomi took his hand. Do you mean that? Every word. A year later they got married. Small ceremony. Just a few friends. Joshua came. He shook Min-jae's hand. Take care of her, he said. I will, Min-jae promised. Naomi wore a dress that cost less than a month's rent. Min-jae wore a suit he'd had since before everything fell apart. They didn't have a honeymoon. They didn't need one. 2 years after that, Min-jae's company was thriving. Not as big as his father's had been, but sustainable, ethical, respected. Naomi ran the international division. They worked together, fought together, built together. Park Tae-jin died in his sleep. Min-jae went to the funeral. Naomi went with him. His mother looked at her across the grave. For a moment, Naomi thought she'd see hatred. Instead, she saw relief. After the service, his mother pulled Naomi aside. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For saving my son. He was dying long before his father's stroke. You brought him back to life." Naomi's throat tightened. He saved himself. "No, you both saved each other." 5 years after that night in Busan, Naomi sat in the office she shared with Min-jae. Their company had just closed a major deal, international, high profile, everything they'd worked for. Min-jae walked in, set a coffee on her desk, kissed the top of her head. "How's it feeling?" he asked. "Surreal." "Good surreal or bad surreal?" "Good. Definitely good." He sat across from her. "I've been thinking about something. Should I be worried?" He smiled. "Do you remember what you said to me that night, in your apartment, when my father tried to pay you to leave?" "I said a lot of things. You said you weren't afraid of losing things that were never really yours." She nodded. "I think about that a lot," he said. "About how I spent so long holding on to things that weren't mine. My father's approval, his version of success, his definition of who I was supposed to be. And now I have things that actually are mine. This company, this life, you." He reached across the desk, took her hand. "Thank you for not running. Thank you for staying, even when I gave you every reason to leave." Naomi squeezed his hand. "Where else was I going to go? Anywhere. You could have gone anywhere." "Maybe, but anywhere without you felt wrong." They sat like that for a while, two people who'd fought their way through hell, who'd lost everything, and found something better. Before we continue, tell us in the comment section, where are you watching this video from? Hit the subscription button now. Late that night, Naomi stood on the balcony of their apartment. Smaller than Min-jae's old penthouse, but it had a view. She could see the city, all those lights, all those lives. She thought about the girl who'd arrived in Seoul 6 years ago, young, hopeful, naive. That girl wouldn't recognize her now, and she was glad. Min-jae came out, wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Cold?" he asked. "No." "Tired?" "A little." "Regrets?" She turned in his arms. I looked up at him. "Not a single one." He kissed her, soft, slow, the way he always did now, like she was something precious, something worth keeping. And for the first time in her life, Naomi believed it. If you made it to the end of this story, you understand something important. Love is not soft. It's not easy. It's not a fairy tale. Real love costs. It demands. It breaks you and rebuilds you into something you don't recognize. But if you're lucky, if you're brave, it's worth every scar. Drop a comment if this story made you feel something. Subscribe if you want more stories that don't lie to you. And remember, the people worth keeping are the ones who stay when staying is the hardest thing they'll ever do.